Today we're talking about how to adopt a positive mental attitude. And if you're looking for information on this, you probably have got some area of your life that you're looking for either better mindset, the power of your mind to be positive, or a better attitude. We're going to talk about it and we're going to get you excited about it today. So in today's video, we're going to dive into, first of all, where does your attitude come from, right? We hear this talk of attitude, but where does it come from? And if I want to change it, how do I go about changing it? Stay tuned because you're going to be excited to hear how easy it is once you make a decision. And then at the end, I've got a little free guide I'm going to throw out to you. So stick around. So what is attitude and where does it come from? And if you think about it, sometimes it's easier for us to look at other people to get perspective than it is to look at ourselves. You know, sometimes it's really hard to look at ourselves. So think about the people in your life that you would consider to have a positive attitude. Think about their actions, think about their thoughts, think about their belief. And on the similar side of that, think about maybe some people that you might think are negative. You know, I remember when I first was diving into this whole thing of mindset and positivity, one of my mentors had me do an exercise. And it was an interesting exercise. He said, write a list of everybody that's in your life. And then I want you to put a positive or a negative, depending on if they bring good into your life or if they take away from it. Now, if you take this challenge on, I'm going to warn you, it can be a little challenging. Because when I went through this list, there were some people in my life, some relatives in my life, maybe my mom or dad, that might have had some negativity, right? And so to me, it was identifying, is it a positive attitude or is it a negative attitude? And are they adding to my life or are they taking away? And then once we realize it, from an outside perspective, it's a lot easier to bring it to an inside perspective. Now, when I'm talking about attitude, and before we were trying to talk about if people have a positive or a negative attitude, and you're looking at yourself, where does attitude come from? You know, and I'm going to argue that's a collection of thoughts, beliefs, and actions inside of you that come out in ways of your personality and the way you approach life. And a lot of the things that go on with mindset and the way we behave are really deep-rooted, right? They took years to get there. But the one thing about attitude that I like to challenge people on is I feel like you can choose your attitude in every moment. When you wake up in the morning, you can decide if you're going to have a good day or a bad day simply by the way you choose your attitude for the day. So if you're watching this and you want to learn how to have a positive, it may be an assumption that sometimes you have a negative attitude, right? So how do I change that? Well, again, it is a simple choice, but it may take some time. It may be something that you have to spend 30 days, 60 days really affirming every single morning that you have a great attitude. You know, I remember hearing a story, a gentleman by the name of W. Clement Stone, who in the 1970s was one of the richest Americans, and he wasn't rich just because he had a lot of knowledge. He was rich because he had a really good attitude. And he actually wrote a book called The Power of the Positive Mental Attitude, but his approach was whenever anything happened, no matter what it was, he would just say, that's good. And his statement, that's good, really was detaching from is it positive or is it negative. It was just a statement, is it good? And then he would, with his positive mental attitude, say, okay, how do I make this a good thing? And so if you're struggling with a negative attitude, if you're struggling with things happening, and you're always turning to the negative of how bad it is, how hard it is, how challenging it is, the first step is going to be detaching from it being anything at all and just sometimes saying it just is. This thing just happened, right? This just is. And now, without emotional attachment to it, how do I make it better? So when we're talking positive mental attitude, and it being a collection of thoughts and actions that kind of come out as our attitude, there's this idea of paradigms. And paradigms are just a collection of thoughts, beliefs, and habits that reside in your subconscious mind. And so if I want to change my attitude, I'm going to have to do it on a subconscious level. Because a lot of this is programming that's just gone on in my subconscious for, depending on how old I am, 20, 30, 40 years. So if I want a positive mental attitude, I'm going to go back to, if I want different results, I got to think different thoughts. And thinking different thoughts starts with a decision. And maybe every morning, starting my day with gratitude, which if you've watched any of my other videos, I talk a lot about gratitude because that's a great way to shift to a positive mental attitude. But then from there, maybe doing some rewiring, right? And how do I rewire my subconscious mind? How do I change my paradigm? It's one of two things. It's either repetitive thought or an emotional event. And the easiest for me to do is repetitive thought, which comes in the form of affirmations. So if I want a positive mental attitude, every morning when I rise, maybe come up with 10 statements that I say to myself. I am positive. I am happy. I am energetic. I am optimistic. You know, an interesting tool I use with my clients when we're trying to develop positive mental attitudes is make a list of 10 negative habits you have, 10 negative thoughts you tell yourself. And then using the law of polarity, you write your positive affirmations to develop this positive mental attitude that are complete opposites. You know, if I'm feeling in lack and scarcity, I want to affirm I am abundant, I am positive, I am powerful, whatever it is. And we use the power of repetition to reprogram that positivity. Because having a positive mental attitude is a choice. It's a decision you have to make. And depending on where your set point is, some of us are maybe wired a little bit more negative than others. You know, is the glass half full? Is the glass empty? Where is your perspective? That's your starting point. And then taking it from there, just starting to affirm every single day positive affirmations to create that positive mental attitude. And the goal is, I'm going to give you a challenge. Here's the challenge of this video. The goal is within 30 days of doing this positivity work, that somebody around you complains about how positive you are. If you're liking what we're talking about here on positive mental attitude and you want more content just like this, go ahead, hit the subscribe button below. The NSA, the National Speakers Association, the Mountain West chapter, it's a great group of high energetic speakers, consultants, coaches, and if you want a positive mental attitude, one of the best ways is hanging around a bunch of positive people. So hit the link, subscribe. So in the past, as I'm talking about positive mental attitude, I'm the first one to admit I didn't always have the best mental attitude. I grew up with some things that happened in my life, some programming that got put on me, even some people that I spent a lot of time around that were somewhat negative, right? The sky was always falling. Maybe there was some scarcity mindset, some things that I sometimes was challenged to be positive. And some of the things I'm sharing with you on this video, I know they work because I used them firsthand. I did some programming. I changed my attitude, and I did over and over and over again, telling myself that I was positive, telling myself that I was happy, that I was grateful. Even at times when maybe I wasn't feeling that way, right? And it's funny, I was on a call with a friend and actually a client of mine about 6 months ago, and we hadn't talked for a couple of years, and I've really taken a hard dive on the stuff we're sharing in these videos. And he interrupted me 2 minutes in, and he says, wait a second. And I said, yeah, man, what's up? He said, I don't understand. He goes, you literally have become painfully positive. And I'm like, painfully positive? What does that even mean? He said, I don't know. He goes, it hasn't mattered what I've said on this call. You turn it to something good. Everything in my life that I think is a challenge right now, you're turning it into something good. And, you know, as I sat there thinking about the work that went into that, I just said, thank you. I said, thank you. I would love to be called painfully positive. So the process of developing a positive mental attitude starts with a decision, starts with repetition of thought, and literally you telling yourself exactly what you want to think. Happy, positive, confident, abundant, love-filled thoughts. So if you would like a positive mental attitude, if you want to make some of the improvements I've talked about, hit the link below and you can get the free guide. Outlines a lot of the tools that I use to become painfully positive. It's called What Holds You Back. And again, links below. Click it. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for your time today. I hope I left you some kind of impression of increase, some kind of positivity. And as always, enjoy the ride. It's a good one. Thanks for tuning in.